Assalamualaikum. It's me Wajiha Halil. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. So in this video we will learn what is mean deviation and how we can find out the mean deviation from the ungrouped data and for the group data. So here the mean deviation is basically as we know that we have two different kinds of dispersions, the absolute dispersion and the relative dispersion. So the mean deviation is the kind of, you can say, is the kind of the absolute dispersion. So the mean deviation is basically used to measure or used to find out the variation from the data. As you know that we have the different kind of dispersions which all of are used to find out the dispersion, to find out the variation from the data from a particular given point, which is the average, you can say. So so the mean deviation is the absolute deviation from an average. Absolute deviation means that we have a different observations in our data, and we find out the variation of that data. So we are just finding out the absolute deviation from the average. So why this is written as an average? Because in this dispersion we are using the three different kind of averages. One is the mean, and second one is the median, and third one is the mode. So why we are using three different kind of dispersions? Because whenever we are using the mean deviation, we have to find out the mean deviation from the three different ways. It's up to you whatever you want to choose and whatever the given in the question. So in this particular video I am discussing about the mean deviation from the mean. The other two mean deviations from the median and the mode will be discussed in the next videos. Here we have the two different formulas, because I told you that I am discussing here only the mean deviation from mean. So these two formulas are just for the mean deviation from mean, and there's a little bit change in the formulas when we are moving toward the mean deviation from median or the mode. So this is the ungrouped data, and for the ungrouped data formula, and this for the group data formula. Here you can see that summation x minus x bar and absolute deviation divided by n. So this absolute terms, or you can say the notations, means that all the negative values turn into the positive values. So these are the two different formulas for the ungrouped data and for the group data too. And the next one thing is, because when we are finding out the range, quartile deviation, mean deviation, we have to find out their relative dispersion, which is called as the coefficients of that particular dispersion. So here we have to find out the coefficient of mean deviation. So the formula of coefficient of mean deviation is mean deviation from mean, the value which you find out from this formula or from this formula, divided by mean. So this is the formula of mean deviation. So now I have an example of ungrouped data. As you can see that this is the ungrouped data, and the question is to find out the mean deviation. So first of all, I just write it here, the formula of mean deviation. So from this formula we have to know that what the value we need to find out the in a very initial step. So here we know that we have the x values are given in our data, and we have n, which is the number of observations. We also have that, but we don't have an x bar, which is the mean. So we have to find out the first of all the mean, which is the x bar. The formula of mean is summation x divided by n. We just put it here, the summation x means that the sum of all the values of x divided by the total number of observations which are countable, that how many values we have in our data set. So from this we find out the mean, which is x bar. Once we calculated the x bar, we then find out the x minus x bar and absolute values of x minus x bar. So the first column shows that x minus x bar, because we have x bar is 10, so I just put it x minus 10. So from all the values of x we need to take a difference from the mean. So here is the difference from all the values of x, and then because in our formula we have an x minus x bar absolute values, So we have to convert all that negative values into the positive values when we are finding out x minus x bar and absolute values. So like this, we just turn all the negative values into the positive values. Once all the values converted, then we find its sum, because we have here sum. So summation x minus x bar absolute values is equal to 48. 48 divided by n, which is the total number of observations. So I just put it both values and find out the mean deviation. So once you find out the mean deviation, you find out the coefficient of mean deviation. So coefficient of mean deviation is equal to mean deviation from mean value and then divided by mean. So here we have mean deviation value is, as you can see, that we have find out it here, that 4.8 divided by mean, which is 10. So I put all those values here and then calculate it from the calculator. Is a very simple step. So I just find out here the coefficient of mean deviation. So in this way we can find out the coefficient of mean deviation or the mean deviation from the ungrouped data. Now we are moving toward the example for the grouped data. So in the black two headings we have the data. First of all we have the classes, and the second one we have the frequency. F denotes about the frequency. So the first step is write it here, the formula of mean deviation, and then need to find out what the values are we need first. So here also we have to find out the mean, which is x bar first of all. So I just write it here, the formula of mean, and then because first of all we are finding out the mean, so we need to find out the values related to the mean. So here I have to find out the f of f multiplied by x column. So in this data we don't have an x variable. So to find out the x variable, we find out the midpoints of the classes. Midpoint means that the lower class limit plus the upper class limit divided by 2. So with this method we just find out all the values of our data, all the midpoints of our data. So because in the formula of mean we need to find out the fx, so we multiplied this column, x column multiplied by f, like this way, and after finding out we just sum this column. After sum this column we just put it here and then divided by summation f. We need to find out the sum of the f column also. So once you calculated both values and just put into the mean formula, after putting it into the mean formula just calculate it and find out the mean value. So once you calculated the mean value, you need to find out your mean deviation step by step process. So from the mean deviation formula we need to find out first of all x minus x bar column. X minus x bar columns means that from all the values of x we need to find out, we need to take a difference from the mean, which is 155.33. Again, from all these values, from for example from 114.5 minus 155.33 we get minus 40.83. like this, all from all the values we just find the difference from our average value, which is the mean value. After that we need to find out the absolute values of this difference. So we just converted in this column all the negative values into the positive values. Once you converted all the values, we need to find out, we need to multiply the f column with this column. So with this column I just multiplied here all of these values. Here is the multiplication of this column. Once you multiply all the values of f multiplied by this section, so just sum it here. After summation I just put it into the formula, 1766.06 divided by summation f, which is we have 120. So after putting these two values we just calculated from the normal calculator, and then we get to know that our mean deviation is 14.72. and after that we need to find out the coefficient of mean deviation. So sorry because I just spelling are the mistakenly written here. So the mean deviation from mean divided by mean, so just put it here, the mean deviation value, which is 14.72 divided by the mean, which you calculated is 155.33, and then find out the mean deviation, coefficient of mean deviation. So Hope so all of you get to know that how to calculate the mean deviation and what is the mean deviation. So we'll see you next in the next video. Till then, Allah Hafiz.